Assalamualaikum. My name is Dalila Binti Youb. My metric number is 263835. Today I'm going to talk about the microeconomic household theory of fertility. Consumer behavior assumes that an individual with a given set of tastes or preference for the range of goods try to minimize the satisfaction derived from consuming these goods, subject to his or her own income constraint and the relative price of all goods. In the application of this theory to fertility analysis, children are considered as a special kind of consumption good to the fertility become a rational economic response to a consumer's or a family's demand for children relative to other goods. Next, we look for demand for children equation. The continuous of demand for children equation is under the standard neoclassical condition. We will expect the following. The higher the household income, the greater the demand for children. The next one is the higher the net price of children, the lower the price demanded. And the third one is the higher the price of all other goods relative to children, the greater the quantity of children demanded. And the last one is the greater the strength of taste for good relative to children, the fewer children demanded. Next, we look at 6.9 figure. It means that the household chooses from among all attainable combination the one combination of goods and children that maximize family satisfaction on the basis of its subjectively determined preference. And then, diagrammatically, this optimal combination is represented by point F, the tangency point between the budget constraint AB and indifferent curve I2. A rise in family income parallel outward shift of the budget line from AB to AB prime. An increase in the price opportunity cost of children relative to other goods will cause households to substitute commodities for children. A rise in the relative price of children causes the household utility maximizing consumption combination to occur on the lower indifferent curve from F to E. In other words, higher level of living for lower income family in combination with a relative increase in the price of children will motivate households to have a fewer children while still improving their welfare. Next, the demand for children in developing countries. First 2 or 3 children considered as consumer goods, while additional children considered as investment goods, which will work on family farm or micro enterprise and also used as old age security motivation. Next, let's look at the implication for development and fertility. Birth rate among the very poor are likely to fall where the following socio-economic change come to pass. The first one is an increase in education of women and consequent change in their role and status. Second, an increase in female non-agricultural wage employment opportunity. Third, a rise in family income level through the increased direct employment and earning of a husband and a wife. The fourth one is a reduction in infant mortality through expanding public health programs and better nutritional status for both mother and child and better medical care. The fifth one is the development of old age and other social security system outside the extended family network. And the last one is expanded schooling opportunities so that parents can better substitute child quality for large number of children. In short, expanded effort to make jobs, education and health more broadly available to poverty groups in general and women in particular will not only contribute to their economic and physical well-being, but also contribute substantially to their motivation for smaller families, which is vital to reducing population growth rate. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hi, my part is 6.5, the consequence of high fertility, some conflicting perspective. Many people say the consequence of high fertility become more problem for the country, but the development economies and other social scientists have debated the seriousness of the consequence of rapid population. We must know that population growth is not the only or even the primary source of low level of living, eroding self-esteem, and limited freedom in development nation, because the real problem is not the population growth per se, but one of the all the following four issue. Number one is underdevelopment, number two is population distribution, and number three world resource depletion and environmental destruction, and last is subordination of women. So I want to go through the first point is undevelopment. If correct strategy are pursued and lead to higher level of living, greater self-esteem, and expand freedom, population will take care of itself. Eventually, it will disappear as a problem, as it has in all of the present economic advanced nation. According to this agreement, undevelopment is the real problem, and development should be the only goal. Number two is world resource depletion and environmental destruction. Population can only be an economic problem in relation to the availability and utilization of scarce natural and material resources. The fact is the developed country with less than one quarter of the world population consume almost 80% of the world resource. In terms of the depletion of the world limited resource, therefore the additional of another child in the developed country is as significant as the birth of many times as many additional children in developed country. According to this agreement, developed nations should curtail their accessibly high consumption standard instead of asking less developed nations to restrict their population growth. Third is population distribution. According to this agreement, it is not the number of people per se that is causing population problem, but their distribution in the space. So, government should therefore strive not to moderate the rate of population growth, but rate to bring about a more neutral spatial distribution of the population in terms of available land and other productive resource. Number four is subordination of women. This is most important because women often bear the disproportionate burden of poverty, poor education, and limited social mobility. According to this agreement, population growth is a natural outcome of women lack of economic opportunity. If women have education and economic well-being improve along with their role and the status in both the family and community, this empowerment of women will inevitably lead to smaller family and low population growth.
Hi everyone, I'm Hemarubini. My metric number is 267679. So for today's presentations, I would like to talk about 6.5. Real problem is a position supporting the need to curtail population growth because of the negative economic, social, and environmental consequences are typically based on one of the following three arguments. There are three arguments of real problem. The first is the extremist argument, populations and global crisis. The second is the theoretical argument, population poverty cycle and the need for family planning program. And the last is other empirical argument. There are 7 negative consequences of population's growth. The extremes argument, populations and global crisis. This unrestrained populations increase is seen as the major crisis facing humankind today, and it cause of poverty, low level of living, malnutrition, ill health, environmental degradations, and a wide array of other social problems. As we all know that because of the population is increased, most of the economics of the country is getting worse. Such an extreme positions lead some of its advocates to accept that world, example like developing country, population stabilizations or even decline is the most urgent contemporary task, even if it is requires severe and coercive measures such as compulsory sterilizations to control family size. So the second argument is the theoretical arguments, which is related with the population's poverty cycle and the need for family planning program. As we all know that the most populations in the country, the worse economy it will be. So some economics state that too rapid population growth yields negative economic consequence. So it should be a real concern for developing nation. And they also believe that population growth intensifies and worsens the economic, social, and psychological problems that are related to the conditions of underdevelopment. The more family size and large families retard economic growth, it follows that economic and social development is a necessary conditions for bringing about an eventual slowly or the population's growth level are low of fertility. So the development provide people with the incentives and motivations to limit their family size, but family planning program are needed to provide them with the technological. The last argument, okay, which is other empirical argument, there are 7 negative consequences of population growth. The first is economic growth. Rapid population growth tend to lower per capita income growth in most developing countries. The second is poverty and inequality. The poor suffer the most as they are the ones who are made landless. They're affected by cuts in government health and education program. The third is educations, which is related with the large family size and low income, restrict the opportunity of parents to educate all of their children. Meanwhile, for the health, is high fertility rates harm the health of mothers and children. For food, is the more people there are around the world, the more difficult it is to provide food for all of them. And the sixth is environment. Rapid population growth lead to environmental degradation. And lastly is for the international migrations. It is one of the major consequences of developing country population growth. The goal and objective toward a consensus. The following below above, there are three propositions constitute the essential component of this intermediate or consensus opinion. The first is the population growth is not the primary cause of low level of living, extreme inequalities, or the limit freedoms of choice that characterize much of the developing world. The second proposition is the problem of population is not simply one of number, but involve the quality of life and material well-being. The last is rapid population growth that serve to intensify problems of underdevelopment and make prospect for development that much more promote. So for the last slide from my part is three policy goal and objective might be included in any realistic approach to the issue of population growth in developing countries. First objective or policy is the primary objective of any strategy to limit further growth must deal not only with the population's variable but also with the underlying social and economic condition of underdevelopment. Second policy is family planning program providing both the educations and the technological means to regulate fertility for people who wish to regulate it should be established. The third policy is not only by providing contraceptive and funding family planning clinic, but even more important by curtailing their own excessive depletions of non-renewable world resources. That's all from me. Thank you.
Good morning to my and my friends. My name is Shum Qian Yih and my matric number is 27210. Now I'm going to present some policy approaches. In order to bring about long-term reduction in overall rate of world population growth, there are three areas of policy can have important direct and indirect influences on the well-being of present and future world population. The first is general and specific policy that government of developing countries can influence or even control their population growth. Second is the government of developed countries can initiate in their own country to decrease the consumption of the limited world resources and promote the benefit of the equal distribution to the global economic progress. Third is the government of developed countries and international assistance agencies can initiate to help developing countries achieve their population objectives. Next, what developing countries can do. Long-run development policies are essential to optimize population stabilization, but there are 5 specific policies that can try by developing countries to lower birth rates in the short run. First is persuade people to have smaller families through media and education process, which is formal and informal. Second is enhance family planning programs to provide health and contraceptive service to encourage the desired behavior. Third is manipulate economic incentives and disincentives for having children. For example, eliminate or reduce maternity leaves and benefit, the imposition of financial penalties for having children beyond a certain number, the rising of school fees, and the elimination of subsidies for higher education. Fourth is coerce people into having smaller families through the power of legislation and penalties. But obviously, it is unethical and people will not accept it. Last is raise the social and economic status of women is the most effective way in controlling fertility. When the woman is economic independent, they are in a better position to exercise control over the choice of partner and timing of marriage. Next, what developed countries can do. First, any worldwide program designed to engender a better balance between resources and people by limiting developing country population growth must also include the responsibility of rich nations to simplify their own consumption demands and lifestyle. Thus, the resources could be used by poor nations to generate the social and economic development essential to slowing population growth. Second is the rich nation liberalize the legal conditions for international immigration of poor, unskilled workers and their families from Africa, Asia, Latin America to North America, Europe, Japan, and Australia. Next, how developed countries can help developing countries with their population programs. First is rich country government, international donor, agency and NGO play an important role in the whole area of research into the technology of fertility control, the contraceptive pill, modern intrauterine devices, voluntary sterilization procedures, and particular in the H4S, effective barrier contraception. Second is financial assistance from developed countries for family planning programs, public education, and national population policy research activity in developing countries. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Hidayatul Binti Malek with metric number 26159. I would like to present on the case study for population, poverty and development in the case of China and India. Two of the world's fastest growing economies, China and India, also happen to be the world's two most populous nations. In the year of 2012, China population is about 1.35 billion people, while it is 1.22 billion in India. According to the UN Population Division Medium Variant Project, China population is estimated to be around 1.45 billion and then start to decline, while in India reach the peak before decreasing at 1.64 billion people in the year of 2065. Now, let's look at policy in China. In 1949, Chinese leader led by Mao Zedong, believing that a larger population would mean a more powerful country, he sent advocates of population control to jail. However, in 1980, China initiated a tough new drive to deter birth with a goal of lowering the annual birth rate to 1% during the decades. Later on, Chinese government adopted policy of one child per family, include requiring women to appeal to the neighborhood committee or council for formal permission to become pregnant. Mothers of two or more children were often denied promotion and state fines. Given such policy and a strong cultural preference for boys, it is not surprising that there have been many reports of girls receiving less medical attention and also selective abortion of female fetus and even female infanticide. Male to female ratio are seen to be higher. In August 1988, Chinese government decided to increase its enforcement of the one-child norm in rural area as well as urban area. By the mid-1990s, China's fertility rate fell further from 9.9 births per woman to 1.6. This rate is below replacement level and it is consistent with a slow long-term decline in population growth. Successful population control in China comes with its own risks and unintended consequences as well as substantial reward. In addition, while fertility has fallen in preference for boys over girls has actually intensified, many Chinese families seem to feel that if they are to have one only child, it should be a boy to carry on the family name and help support parents in their old age. In sum, although rapid economic growth and coercion and incentives in family planning account for part of China's drop in fertility, other factors also included such female literacy, improved child health, and greater economic opportunities for women. Let's consider the case in India. In 1949, India became the first country to implement a national family planning program. By the early 1970s, observers were becoming increasingly alarmed by the very high rate of population growth in India. When Prime Minister Indira Gandhi tried to implement drastic population control in 1975 to 1977, it was a failure. However, family planning did become more widely practiced. Some of the acceptance of limits on family size reflect rising income among the close to 250 million middle-class Indians and somewhat improved her nation among a significant fraction of the poor. In Madhya Pradesh, individuals who had third or subsequent child after January 2001 were banned from running for election to village council polls. As fertility has fallen, a preference for boys or girls have developed. The result is a missing women problem parallel to China's stronger male bias is actually found in the better off states of India. Future social stress as of 2010, the ratio of males to female in India as a whole had reached 108 to 100, one of the highest in the world. Kerala, a state of India, southwest coast that has emphasized poverty reduction and human development, is an important case in point. Kerala's fertility rate was until recently less than that of China, but unlike China, the dramatic reduction in fertility in Kerala were achieved without coercion, let alone China's huge direct economic incentive for the lowered fertility. In Kerala, if the official had been supporting small family have seen more effective and elsewhere, it is largely because both social and economic conditions on the ground changed previously or simultaneously. More than 85% of women in Kerala are literate, which means they have more power in the household and opportunities in the workforce. Amartya Sen concludes that Kerala's impressive results in fertility reduction were achieved through active public dialogue that resulted ultimately in the emergence of new social attitudes and values, and that such dialogue on this sensitive subject will possibly only because of the very high level of female literacy in the state. The success of Kerala suggests that fertility reduction may depend on not on rapid economic growth or even, in its absence, on draconian governmental policies, but rather on grassroots human development that emphasizes women empowerment in which civil society plays a leading role. And that's all representation from the Friendzone. Thanks for watching.